Imagine standing at your sister's opulent wedding, hundreds of eyes fixed upon you, as your own mother's hand violently strikes your face, propelling your earring through the air. All this simply because you mustered the courage to refuse surrendering your $3 million residence. This isn't a fictional tale. It's the raw, undeniable account of what I, Natalie Carter, endured and how an unexpected champion transformed my public shame into my family's spectacular undoing. I'm Natalie, currently 33 years old, and the repercussions of my sister's wedding still reverberate through the most exclusive corporate circles. Envision a grand ballroom, radiant with golden reflections, 300 invited guests, a live musical ensemble, effervescent champagne, a panorama of absolute luxury. Now, picture my mother's hand connecting with my cheek with such incredible force that a diamond earring detached from my earlobe, then spun across the immaculate marble flooring. The underlying cause: my steadfast refusal to hand over the entry keys to my $3 million penthouse, an item brazenly requested during her reception address. However, the most profound shock was yet to come. Only 60 minutes later, the chief executive officer of Seattle's preeminent investment firm made a dramatic entrance through those expansive doors, and my mother's piercing shriek resonated 3 stories above. This man held far more sway than an average executive. He possessed a substantial equity stake in my father's own business, Carter and West Capital, and he arrived with a very precise statement concerning the scene he just observed unfold live. Before I delve into that indelible event and the brutal slap from my mom, please pause to like this broadcast and subscribe to Tinye Revenge if you champion stories where fairness is ultimately achieved. Furthermore, share your current location and the time, as I genuinely read all comments. Let's now transport ourselves back to that pivotal morning. I genuinely believed I was merely attending Isabella's flawlessly organized wedding celebration. My arrival at the Evermont Grand Hotel was at 8 in the morning, a full 3 hours before the official ceremony began. The ballroom itself glistened, looking as if it had been lifted directly from a high-end bridal publication. Pristine white roses, delicate golden ribbons, every single corner buffed until it shone brilliantly. It was precisely what Isabella Carter had dreamt of since our shared childhood. I had personally contributed a sum of $80,000 to actualize that specific dream, a fact that, predictably, no one would ever acknowledge. "Natalie," my mother's voice pierced the ambient sounds, her gaze scrutinizing me from head to toe. "That attire, couldn't you have selected something more delicate? You appear to be heading into a board meeting, not your sister's matrimonial event." I smoothly adjusted the navy silk fabric of my dress. It was undeniably elegant, professional, perhaps even overly so. "A good morning to you too, Mother," I responded calmly. She offered no acknowledgement of my greeting. Instead, she let out a sigh. "Observe Isabella. She truly radiates joy, a genuine bride." This habitual comparison was hardly a novelty. For 33 years, I had occupied the role of the daughter deemed excessively ambitious, too self-reliant, too forthright in my professional pursuits. Isabella, conversely, was the quintessential princess. Gentle, conventional, embodying every quality our parents had ever desired in a female offspring. "Natalie, would you mind reviewing the guest seating chart once more?" My father's voice carried from across the immense ballroom. "But please, make no alterations this time." I silently bit my tongue. The existing seating plan was an unmitigated catastrophe. Estranged couples were positioned uncomfortably close, while rival corporate partners were compelled to share the same table. However, drawing attention to these issues would only reinforce my label as difficult once again. They remained unaware, because I had consistently withheld the information, that I was not simply some middle-tier manager at an undistinguished firm. I held the title of Vice President of Global Development at Carter and West Capital, overseeing the complete expansion strategy across the Asia-Pacific territory. Yet within this specific familial unit, even such a significant accomplishment was somehow tallied as another personal failing. Too engrossed in work, overly strong-willed, too much like the male child they had never parented. "Naturally, Father," I stated evenly, maintaining a composed tone. "I'll ensure everything is flawlessly presented for Isabella." "Kinship takes precedence, Natalie," he reminded me, materializing beside me as I subtly corrected a slightly askew centerpiece. You will grasp this when you finally settle down. You'll comprehend it once you establish your own household, my father reiterated. When you finally settle down. It was an understated jab, but it struck precisely its intended target. At 33, my unattached status was perceived as a far greater shortcoming than any professional victory could ever atone for. "Robert, allow her to be," Aunt Marjorie interjected, her tone sounding more amused than genuinely protective. Not everyone shares Isabella's fortune in discovering true romance at such a tender age. I directed my attention back to the centerpiece, permitting their conversations to fade into indistinct background noise. Surrounding us, relatives discreetly murmured their assessments behind gleaming crystal stemware and thinly veiled smiles. Still no engagement ring on Natalie's hand. After so many years in the metropolitan area, one would think she'd have encountered someone by now. Poor Elaine, at least she will soon have a grandchild courtesy of Isabella. From the other side of the room, my cousin Kevin emitted a derisive snort. "Hey, Natalie," he called out, his voice loud enough for all to overhear. "Perhaps if you dedicated less time to corporate negotiations and more time to romantic encounters, you'd also have a family." Laughter rippled through the gathered relatives like static electricity. Warm, effortless chuckles, the kind that feels chillingly cold when its target is you. I longed to inform them about the 3 individuals I had dated that year, all of whom proved incapable of being with a woman more successful than themselves. I yearned to declare that being unattached was a conscious choice, not a deficit. But what purpose would it serve? My mother was already vociferously explaining, loud enough for half the room to hear, that I was simply too particular for my own good. I adjusted another slightly askew centerpiece, my hands remaining steady despite the familiar sting of being utterly disregarded. They had no true understanding of my actual identity. And perhaps that was for the best. "So, Natalie," chirped Aunt Janet during the pre-ceremony social hour, "how is that modest apartment of yours in the urban core? It must be quite compact." "It is, in fact, a penthouse," I gently corrected her. The cluster of individuals around us erupted into polite, stifled laughter. "Oh, a penthouse," Aunt Janet exclaimed, dabbing a tear from her eye. "Natalie and her extravagant urban fantasies. She consistently overstates things." Isabella glided past in her wedding attire, beaming broadly. "Last year, she claimed she was acquiring a Tesla. Can you even conceive of it?" I had indeed purchased a Tesla. It was parked just outside the venue, but I merely offered a faint smile. "Natalie has perpetually been driven," my mother added, employing that specific inflection that made driven sound like a profound personal failing. "Truly, excessively ambitious." "There's absolutely nothing wrong with a humble dwelling," Uncle Edward contributed, his tone oozing condescension. "Not everyone possesses the means for lavishness, you understand. Nothing to feel embarrassed about, dear." My mobile phone vibrated. A digital notification from the concierge desk of my building, confirming a delivery scheduled for tomorrow to my 4,500-square-foot penthouse situated on the 45th floor. Expansive, floor-to-ceiling glass panels, an uninterrupted panoramic vista of the Seattle metropolitan skyline. A residence I had acquired outright, having paid in full after successfully concluding the monumental Tokyo business transaction. I could have presented photographic evidence. I could have accessed the virtual walkthrough I had stored. I could have made mention of the architectural digest spread from the previous month. But what tangible benefit would that achieve? Only to affirm my persistent need for their validation. "You are correct, Uncle Edward," I stated instead, my voice utterly calm. "There is absolutely nothing improper about living within one's financial means." Isabella emitted that flawless, tinkling laugh she had perfected years earlier. "See, Mom, Natalie is finally cultivating a sense of practicality." The irony of the situation was almost poetic. I stood by the grand ballroom window, contemplating the distant city skyline. The very same skyline my penthouse magnificently dominated. A decade. That was the precise duration it took me to ascend from an entry-level analyst position to vice president. 10 years characterized by 80-hour workweeks, countless red-eye flights, and complex deals that frequently captured headlines in the Financial Times. That penthouse transcended mere property. It was irrefutable proof. Proof that the young woman they had once dismissed as inconsequential had, against all odds, constructed something truly extraordinary. Proof that I did not require their approval, their financial support, or their influential connections. Every single square foot of that dwelling was purchased through my own earned success. If I were to relinquish it to Isabella, if I were to present her with those keys as though it were some insignificant party favor, what would that transformation signify for me? The family's perpetual emergency resource. Their walking ATM, existing solely to finance the preferred child's every happiness. I reflected upon the countless evenings I had inadvertently dozed off at my office desk, meticulously finalizing proposals destined to generate millions for the corporation. The numerous promotions I had genuinely earned while they diligently planned elaborate engagement parties for Isabella. The profound respect I had garnered in high-stakes boardrooms across 3 different continents. None of these achievements held any sway here. To them, I remained simply Natalie. Too assertive, too focused on my career, too unyielding in my convictions. And if I were to capitulate now, if I were to surrender the one tangible symbol of my fiercely guarded independence, I would be unequivocally validating their long-held perceptions. Every belief they harbored regarding my position within this family would tragically materialize as truth. My phone screen illuminated with an incoming message from my personal assistant, an image captured from my penthouse just that morning. The radiant sun ascending over the Seattle metropolis, casting golden light through those immense glass panels. She had appended a succinct caption. "Your sanctuary eagerly awaits, ma'am." Sanctuary. That definition perfectly encapsulated its essence. It was the singular place where I was not someone's disappointing progeny or someone's overshadowed sibling. It was the space where I was simply me. Natalie Carter, the woman who had independently forged something remarkable. I could not, under any circumstances, relinquish that, not even for the superficial illusion of domestic tranquility. Across the sprawling ballroom, I distinctly heard my mother's voice rise above the music's gentle strains. "Our Isabella," she announced to an assembled group of guests, radiating an unmistakable pride. "She embodies every quality a mother could possibly desire. So graceful, so generous. You know, she volunteers her time at the children's hospital," my mother continued, her voice swelling with boastfulness. "And she is destined to become an absolutely splendid wife." The guests murmured their collective approval, all the expected, polite admiration befitting such celebratory moments. She stood there, basking in the spotlight, meticulously reciting Isabella's litany of virtues, her teaching qualification, her flawless engagement, her charitable endeavors. Not once did my name articulate from her lips. 3 months prior, when my father broached the subject of wedding expenditures, I had quietly transferred $80,000 into their designated bank account. I had leveraged my extensive network to ensure the wedding received a prominent feature in a prestigious bridal magazine, even arranging an upgraded honeymoon suite through my personal luxury hotel rewards program. Invisible, that was my customary role. The spectral member of the family, summoned only when their needs arose. "What a truly charming family," someone nearby remarked. "You must harbor such immense pride for your daughters." "Oh, we undeniably do," my father replied, encircling my mother with a possessive arm. "Isabella brings us such profound joy," he stated, "daughters as though only one truly existed." I turned my back, but then I overheard his voice drop. Soft, yet not quite soft enough to be truly private. "Following the toast," he whispered to my mother, "we will proceed with the announcement concerning the penthouse. Are you absolutely certain Natalie will agree?" She murmured back, "She will have no alternative, not in full view of everyone. She is too proud to orchestrate a scene at her sister's wedding." A sudden chill coursed through my veins. This was not a spontaneous gesture. It was an elaborate plot. Not some act of generous surprise, but a meticulously orchestrated trap designed to corner me, wielding social pressure and familial obligation as their insidious weaponry. And then my mother uttered it. The kind of cutting remark that sounded casual, yet sliced directly through one's core. "She doesn't even require a penthouse anyway," she murmured dismissively. "She possesses no family to share it with." The words momentarily stole the air from my lungs, but they simultaneously solidified an unyielding resolve deep within me. I was finished participating in their manipulative charade. If you have ever felt marginalized within your own family, as though your accomplishments only held significance when they aligned with someone else's agenda, I understand that feeling. Your successes are inherently valuable, even when others stubbornly refuse to acknowledge them. What transpired next irrevocably altered everything. The very moment, a deeply personal family dynamic erupted into a humiliating public spectacle. Before we continue, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you champion establishing clear boundaries, choosing self-respect over conditional family approval, and do inform me of your location. I truly value connecting with individuals who comprehend that sometimes the most arduous battles we confront are with the very people who were meant to love us unconditionally. The reception was in its energetic crescendo when my father rose, gently tapping his champagne glass with a spoon. The live band promptly ceased playing. 300 guests uniformly turned their attention towards him. Before we proceed with further celebration, he commenced, his voice amplified by the microphone. Evelyn and I wish to present Isabella and Ethan with something truly exceptional. My stomach tightened into a knot. They were, incredibly, going through with their scheme. As you are all aware, he continued with a well-rehearsed smile, family holds paramount importance for us. There is absolutely nothing we would not undertake for our children's happiness. Children, he declared in the plural. Yet his gaze remained fixed solely upon Isabella. That is why we are immensely delighted to announce that Natalie has magnanimously consented to gift her Seattle penthouse to Isabella as a wedding token. The entire room erupted in spontaneous applause. Isabella pressed a hand to her chest, artfully feigning surprise, though the subtle smile playing at the corners of her lips betrayed her foreknowledge. Ethan embraced her, radiating joy. "Oh my goodness, Natalie." Isabella gushed into the microphone, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "Are you truly serious? The penthouse." And in that single instant, 300 pairs of eyes pivoted to scrutinize me. I froze, champagne glass still gripped in my hand, my mind reeling. They had meticulously orchestrated this precise moment. The public declaration, Isabella's well-practiced reaction, the grand, public setting that made outright refusal seem almost monstrously cruel. "Natalie, please join us up here," my father called, beckoning me towards the elevated stage. "Let us share this significant family occasion together." The applause persisted. People offered smiles, nodded approvingly. Some even discreetly wiped away tears, genuinely believing this to be a profoundly touching gesture. From my vantage point, I could clearly discern my boss's wife seated at table 12, and 3 of our company's major clients at table 8. My entire professional network was dispersed throughout the vast room, every single one of them observing, patiently awaiting my compliant smile and my performance as the magnanimous sister. This was far beyond a mere ambush. It was a calculated, deliberate assault on my personal autonomy. I carefully placed my glass down, and slowly I rose to my feet. A profound silence descended upon the room, the atmosphere heavy with palpable expectation. "I apologize. What did you say?" I articulated, my voice remarkably clear even without the benefit of a microphone. My father's practiced smile wavered, then faltered. "The penthouse, dear one," he prompted gently. "For Isabella and Ethan." "This specific arrangement was not previously discussed with me," I stated, my tone calm, precisely measured, almost detachedly professional. A ripple of hushed whispers propagated through the assembled crowd. My father's smile tightened visibly, his facial features hardening beneath the intense ballroom illumination. "Do not be self-centered on your sister's momentous day," he admonished, still holding the microphone, ensuring every syllable was distinctly heard by all. "Father, this is entirely inappropriate," I countered, my resolve as unyielding as crystal. "We can address this matter privately." "There is nothing to discuss," he snapped abruptly. My mother abruptly snatched the microphone from his hand. "It is a wedding gift from the entire family," she declared emphatically. "It is my personal property," I stated simply, "and I have not given my consent to any such thing." The whispers escalated in volume, fragments of critical remarks breaking through the general hum. How could she behave this way on her sister's wedding day? So utterly selfish. Across the vast expanse of the room, Isabella's eyes began to fill with perfectly synchronized tears. "Natalie," she whispered into her mic, her voice trembling, "I genuinely believed you desired my happiness." "Your happiness does not necessitate the appropriation of my home," I responded evenly. "It's merely a piece of real estate," she sniffled, attempting to diminish its significance. "Then you are perfectly capable of acquiring your own," I retorted. A collective gasp, sharp enough to cleave the very air, rippled through the ballroom. Someone at table 3 actually clutched their pearl necklace in shock. The wedding photographer continued to click away relentlessly, his flash unit popping repeatedly, meticulously documenting every single second of the unfolding disaster. "Natalie, please," Ethan interjected, attempting to project an image of a peacemaker. "We will guarantee its meticulous upkeep." "I am certain you would," I said softly. "However, the penthouse is unequivocally unavailable." My mother's complexion had transformed into a dangerous shade of purple. My father appeared moments away from suffering a stroke. And Isabella's saccharine bride act was visibly fracturing, revealing something far more sinister beneath its surface. "Come now, Natalie," Aunt Janet called out from across the room. "It's about family ties." "You don't even possess a family to inhabit such a grand dwelling," Uncle Harold added, his voice dripping with self-satisfied smugness. "Isabella clearly needs it more. She is commencing her new life." "She speaks the truth," another guest chimed in. "What purpose does Natalie have for such an expansive space?" The mounting pressure was suffocating. Each comment felt like another heavy stone, incrementally stacked higher around me, brick by brick, constructing an invisible wall designed to entrap me in profound shame. "Be sensible," my cousin Colin shouted, his voice laced with exasperation. "Cease being so obstinate. Don't be so difficult," Aunt Margaret echoed, her voice carrying a similar tone. "It's not as if you are unable to procure another dwelling." Then arrived her subtle, venomous dart, sweetly coated in sarcasm. "Given that exceptionally important position of yours." The implication was unmistakably mocking. Even at this juncture, they still refused to genuinely believe I had achieved my success through legitimate means. They assumed the penthouse was either pure happenstance or an exaggerated claim, not the tangible outcome of a decade characterized by relentless sacrifice and unyielding determination. "You are quite generous to assume that," I stated quietly, my voice remaining composed, even as an internal maelstrom raged furiously within me. "But my personal financial affairs are hardly a suitable subject for public discourse. Everything concerning you revolves around money." My mother snapped, her voice cutting sharply through the microphone, reverberating across the ballroom like a physical blow in itself. "Your sister's happiness ought to transcend mere property ownership," my mother declared. "If Isabella's happiness is contingent upon confiscating what is rightfully mine," I stated evenly, "then perhaps that is a consideration we should all collectively ponder." More audible gasps. Someone positioned in the rear of the room actually emitted a low, disapproving sound. The omnipresent photographer continued his rapid-fire clicking, his camera flash strobing across the room, transforming the escalating chaos into a disorienting storm of frozen light. Through this entire ordeal, my hands remained rigidly at my sides. No discernible tremor, no hint of tears, absolutely none. I had previously negotiated with CEOs who metaphorically devoured vice presidents for their morning meal. I had held my ground in high-stakes boardrooms where fortunes amounting to millions hung precariously in the balance. I was not about to crumble now, certainly not in front of the very individuals who had systematically spent a lifetime attempting to break my spirit. "The penthouse remains unavailable," I reiterated, each word uttered with sharp, deliberate precision. My clutch bag vibrated once, then again, then a third time. I retrieved my phone, seeking a momentary diversion from the emotional minefield upon which I stood. 3 missed incoming calls from the event's master of ceremonies and 1 new text message. "Live broadcast prepared, standing by." Live broadcast. My gaze swept across the room, and then I spotted it. Ethan's younger brother had his mobile device propped up on table 6, actively streaming the entire reception live on social media. That minute, pulsating red, live icon seemed to taunt me. How many people, at that very moment, were witnessing this unfolding catastrophe in real time? Another message from the event MC materialized on my screen. Your decision. Just give the command, Victor Ling. Victor Ling, my esteemed mentor, my direct superior, and, quite conveniently, the individual who held a significant 40% equity share in my father's enterprise. Not that my father, Robert Carter, possessed any inkling that his discreet business partner was the identical man to whom his own daughter reported. We had meticulously kept that particular fact highly classified for precisely scenarios such as this. Natalie, stow away that phone, my mother, Evelyn, hissed, her voice low and sharp. This is a private family moment. Apparently, it also qualifies as public entertainment, I stated calmly, subtly inclining my head towards the live stream setup. The family itself is broadcasting this event across the internet. Ethan's brother frantically scrambled to snatch his phone, but the damage had already been irrevocably done. Who could quantify how many individuals had just witnessed my parents' audacious attempt to publicly compel me into relinquishing my personal residence? Await my signal. I promptly texted Victor in reply, then slid my phone back into my purse. So dramatic, Isabella sighed into her microphone, once again assuming the role of the ideal victim. All this commotion over a single piece of real estate. I had genuinely harbored the belief that my sister's affection for me was profound enough for her to desire my marital journey to commence on a positive note. The crowd, predictably, sided with her. Poor, sweet Isabella, ostensibly rejected by her cold, unfeeling sister. But then I observed something peculiar. My father repeatedly checked his mobile device, and with each glance, his complexion grew progressively paler. The live stream, it was generating repercussions he had utterly failed to anticipate. Your wedding is presently trending, I whispered to Isabella, a ghost of a smile playing on my lips. Congratulations. Standing there, encompassed by critical stares and superficial sympathies, a specific memory surfaced in my mind. 6 months earlier, Victor Ling, my employer and guiding mentor, had adamantly insisted on incorporating an unconventional clause into the Penthouse acquisition contract. Trust my judgment, he had declared, carefully reviewing the extensive paperwork. It shields you from unauthorized third-party interference, particularly coercive tactics employed by family members. I had laughed. Natalie Carter, she declared, her voice slicing through the speakers with unbridled fury, you will not desecrate this day. You will not humiliate this family. I am not the individual creating a scene, mother, I responded evenly, my voice betraying no emotion. We cultivated you to be better than this, she barked, closing the physical distance between us until she was barely a foot away. A prominent vein in her temple visibly throbbed with raw indignation. We furnished you with everything. We lavished Isabella with everything. I earned precisely what I possess, I countered quietly. I deserve it entirely. Ungrateful child, she hissed under her breath, then abruptly caught herself, recalling the presence of her audience. She straightened her posture, pasting on that brittle, socialite smile. Sweetheart, she cooed into the microphone, her voice sickeningly saccharine. Just give your sister the keys. It is such an inconsequential request. No. The single word hung heavily between us. Simple, unyielding, absolute. Her face twisted into a grotesque mask. Disbelief swiftly gave way to unrestrained fury, followed by stark, public humiliation. The entire ballroom collectively held its breath. Are you truly going to proceed with this? My mother, Evelyn, hissed, momentarily lowering the microphone, her hand visibly trembling. Or what exactly? I inquired softly. I am genuinely curious. What precise tactic do you imagine will succeed this particular time? Her eyes blazed with uncontrolled rage. She lifted the microphone once more, her voice fracturing through the speakers. Everyone, she announced with a taut, artificial smile. My daughter appears to have forgotten the fundamental meaning of family. Perhaps you can all collectively help remind her. A palpable ripple of discomfort spread across the vast room. Some guests murmured expressions of support for Isabella, but a significant number remained silent, clearly unsettled, sensing that an invisible boundary had been irrevocably violated. Give your sister the keys, she commanded, her voice dropping into a low, venomous whisper that nevertheless echoed ominously through the microphone. No, you selfish, thankless wretch, she spat. After everything we have done, every sacrifice we have made, you still defiantly resist us. You are an absolute disgrace to this entire family." She advanced even closer, near enough for me to perceive the cloying scent of her perfume, the identical suffocating floral fragrance that had permeated my childhood. And in that precise moment, it was not merely her voice I registered. It was every lingering echo of disappointment, every cruel word that had ever been uttered to diminish me. Then I saw it. All the accumulated years of bitter resentment burning intensely behind her eyes. The strike came without any forewarning. Her hand connected with my face with such incredible force that my head violently snapped to the side. A distinct, resounding crack reverberated through the ballroom, amplified horrifically by the microphone still clutched tightly in her hand. My diamond earring, a cherished gift I had purchased for myself after successfully closing the monumental Singapore transaction, dislodged and spun through the air in agonizing slow motion before ultimately landing on the polished marble floor with a faint, crystalline chime. 300 guests gasped in perfect unison. Then, a profound, absolute silence descended, utterly deafening in its intensity, the kind of stillness that causes one's ears to ring, that transforms one's own heartbeat into a booming thunderclap. I remained completely motionless, my cheek burning fiercely, a wave of radiating heat spreading across my entire face. The photographers ceased their rapid clicking. The wait staff froze mid-stride. Even the youngest children at table 15 fell into an eerie quiet. My mother's hand hovered suspended in the air, her fingers visibly trembling as if she herself could not quite fully grasp the enormity of her own action. In her other hand, the microphone hung loosely, faithfully capturing her ragged, shallow breaths. In the mirrored walls surrounding us, I observed everything reflected with stark clarity. My flushed cheek, her utterly stunned facial expression, the horror propagating through the crowd like an uncontrolled wildfire. My father, Robert Carter, was half risen from his chair, frozen in a grotesque mid-motion. Isabella had both hands clapped over her mouth, genuinely shocked for the very first time that day. Ethan's brother had once again raised his phone, meticulously capturing every single detail. The earring lay on the pristine white marble, its facets sparkling under the brilliant chandelier light from nearly 10 feet away. Such an infinitesimally small object. And yet, it suddenly felt like the most critically important item in the entire room. I did not stir, did not utter a single word, did not even raise a hand to the side of my throbbing face. I simply stood there, allowing the crushing silence to accomplish what mere words never could. Slowly, deliberately, I commenced walking towards the fallen earring. Each crisp click of my heel echoed through the expansive ballroom, sharp, rhythmic, like an ominous countdown. I crouched down, carefully retrieved it, and meticulously fastened it back into its rightful place. A straightforward action, requiring perhaps 30 seconds at most, but it felt like an agonizing 30 years. When I finally straightened, I smoothly adjusted the front of my dress, lifted my chin with newfound resolve, and met my mother, Evelyn, directly in the eye. Her hand finally lowered, but she still maintained her vice-like grip on the microphone, her expression fluctuating wildly between defiant anger and dawning, gut-wrenching horror. "I am sorry," I stated softly, my voice unwavering, completely unshaken. The particular brand of calm that utterly terrifies individuals who fully anticipate your complete breakdown. Then I turned towards the head table. "Congratulations, Isabella," I said evenly, devoid of any emotional inflection. "I sincerely hope your marriage brings you the exact joy you are earnestly seeking." I collected my clutch purse and commenced walking towards the main exit. No hurried pace, no stumble, just the steady, determined gait of someone departing a boardroom they no longer held in any respect. "Natalie," my father called out after me, his voice tinged with desperation. "Natalie, please wait." I neither paused nor turned back. Behind me, the ballroom descended into utter pandemonium, voices overlapping chaotically, chairs scraping loudly, someone audibly weeping in the distance. But I continued my unwavering walk. As I reached the grand doors, I retrieved my phone and dialed Victor Ling. He answered on the very first ring. "Natalie, execute green light," I stated simply, using our prearranged code. A brief, pregnant pause, then his voice sharpened with immediate understanding. "Understood. What is your estimated time of arrival?" 45 minutes to reach my residence. Are you unharmed? I gently touched my cheek. It was still warm, still stinging with residual pain. Initiate the contingency plan, I stated quietly. I could already sense his wheels turning. I heard it in the increased urgency of his tone. The legal department is on standby. I will prepare the shareholder agreement forthwith. Excellent, I affirmed. Ensure you procure the original document, the one my father never actually bothered to thoroughly review. There was a momentary beat of silence, then softly, with genuine concern, Natalie, are you injured? It's nothing significant, I murmured, stepping into the waiting elevator. It will not heal instantly, but it is ultimately inconsequential. The elevator doors slid shut with a soft hiss, effectively sealing off the chaos and emotional fallout behind me. 300 individuals had borne witness to the physical assault. But very soon, the entire metropolitan area would bear witness to the profound reversal of fortunes. Is your internal temperature rising yet? I possess an intimate understanding of the bitter sting of public humiliation, particularly when it originates from the very individuals who were meant to shield and cherish you. But occasionally, the most potent response is not an outburst of anger. It is meticulously crafted strategy. What is about to unfold next serves as a precise demonstration of why you should absolutely never underestimate an individual whom you have pushed irrevocably beyond their breaking point. If you staunchly believe in defending your fundamental principles, if you have ever found yourself compelled to establish an unyielding boundary with your own family, please type boundary in the comments section below. Because this is the precise juncture where everything irrevocably changes, where the previously overlooked daughter ultimately gains control of all the vital cards. 45 minutes later, I found myself back within the secure confines of my penthouse, a cold compress gently pressed against my throbbing cheek. The city below me sparkled with myriad lights, entirely oblivious to the escalating tempest brewing high above it. My phone vibrated, a text message from Victor Ling, entering the hotel now. I promptly changed into comfortable denim jeans and a soft, comforting sweater. No need for professional armor, no pretense whatsoever. The decisive battle was, in essence, already decided. They simply remained unaware of their impending defeat. Another digital notification appeared on my screen. Ethan's brother's live stream had been shared over 500 times. The moment of the slap had already been transformed into a looping GIF, a viral spectacle for anonymous strangers to meticulously dissect and pass judgment upon. But I held no concern for fleeting online fame. My sole focus remained fixed on the dramatic events currently unfolding within that opulent ballroom. Another distinct buzz, another message from Victor. Entering now. And then, in my mind's eye, I could vividly visualize the entire scene playing out as clearly as if I were physically present. The grand, ornate doors of the ballroom swung wide open. Victor Ling, impeccably attired in a custom Armani suit, strode in with that unique, quiet, lethal self-assurance that instinctively caused even seasoned Fortune 500 executives to respectfully step aside without uttering a single syllable. A $10,000 leather briefcase held firmly in one hand. Two unsmiling attorneys flanked him, each carrying identical, pristine leather portfolios. This was the exact same Victor Ling whose name had recently graced the cover of Forbes magazine just last financial quarter. The very same individual whom my father, Robert Carter, had spent 6 fruitless months attempting to secure an exclusive meeting with. Another phone buzz. A frantic text message from Ethan's brother. You absolutely need to witness this. I moved deliberately towards the expansive floor-to-ceiling window, the urban lights sprawling endlessly beneath me. Somewhere down there, within that glittering ballroom, my family was about to absorb a brutal lesson concerning the inevitable consequences of their actions. The phone rang again, an unfamiliar number flashing on the screen. Hello, Natalie, Ethan's brother whispered urgently, his voice filled with barely suppressed panic. You must see this. Your father, he appears moments away from fainting. The gentleman in the suit, he just uttered your name, something about a partnership agreement. Your mother shrieked loudly when she recognized him. Who precisely is he? I allowed myself a faint smile, my gaze still fixed on the mesmerizing skyline. Someone who firmly believes in safeguarding his investments. I stated calmly. From the other end of the line, I could discern outright pandemonium. My father's voice repeating a single phrase incessantly. Mr. Ling, Mr. Ling, the painful, crushing realization finally hitting him, but tragically far too late. I must conclude this call, I stated softly, terminating the conversation. The city below shimmered serenely, utterly indifferent to the turmoil. But somewhere deep below, within that chandelier-illuminated ballroom, an entire family empire was being irrevocably dismantled and rewrit. My phone rang again. This time it was Victor. "I am on speakerphone," he announced, his tone calm yet radiating undeniable authority. "I am currently situated with your parents and their esteemed guests." Through the receiver, I could distinctly perceive it. That heavy, stunned silence that only manifests when undeniable truth finally makes its dramatic entrance into a room. Then Victor's voice, sharp, perfectly controlled, carrying the immense gravitas of a CEO who could effortlessly make entire corporate boardrooms tremble. "I would like to provide some clarification," he stated for all those present. "Natalie Carter is not merely an employee of my organization. She holds the distinguished title of Vice President of Global Development, the executive directly overseeing our entire expansion into the Asia-Pacific market." A collective, audible gasp rippled clearly through the phone connection. "That's utterly impossible," my father's voice stammered, weak and profoundly disoriented. "The Singapore transaction," Victor continued evenly, maintaining his composure, "generated $65 million in revenue. Natalie personally spearheaded that initiative. Our Tokyo division, which now stands as our most profitable branch, she meticulously built it from its foundational stage. And the critical partnership your company, Mr. Robert Carter, has been relentlessly striving to secure with Helios Electronics." A significant pause, a truly deadly silence. "Natalie personally negotiated every single term and condition." "You are fabricating lies," my mother's voice cracked, shrill and utterly desperate. "Mrs. Carter," Victor replied, his tone tightening with steely resolve, "your daughter is unequivocally one of the most invaluable senior executives in this entire metropolitan area. The penthouse you aggressively attempted to appropriate is an integral component of her executive remuneration package, a package which explicitly includes certain protective clauses." "Protections," my father repeated, the word emerging as a fragile tremor. "Yes," Victor affirmed, his voice deepening with undeniable authority. "Protections that automatically activate when any individual attempts to coerce her into surrendering corporate property. And as of this precise moment," he paused, deliberately allowing the ensuing silence to slice through the ambient air, "that act of coercion has been thoroughly documented on a live streaming broadcast that now boasts over 40,000 views. That is precisely what transpired here this evening," Victor reiterated. 40,000 views in under 60 minutes. And furthermore, his tone sharpened with menacing precision, "as the holder of 40% of your company, Mr. Robert Carter, I am profoundly disturbed by the egregious lapse in judgment you exhibited this evening, publicly attempting to steal from your own offspring and permitting your wife to physically assault her. This raises exceptionally serious questions regarding your fundamental fitness to lead this organization. You cannot. This falls under family matters," my father stammered weakly. "The moment you made it public," Victor instantly countered, "you transformed it into my affair. Natalie, are you still connected to this call?" "I am present," I stated clearly, my voice resolute. "Do you wish to pursue legal charges for the assault?" The ballroom collectively held its breath once more. "Allow me to provide further explanation," Victor continued, his voice resonating powerfully over the speakers. "That live stream unequivocally demonstrates clear battery and an explicit, undeniable attempt at coercion. This action triggers Clause 15, 3 of our existing shareholder agreement." "Clause what?" my father croaked, his voice barely audible. "Clause 15.3, Victor repeated unhurriedly, emphasizing each word, "pertaining to ethical turpitude and conduct inconsistent with effective leadership. You will find it on page 47 of the agreement you formally signed 5 years ago. I possess the authority to convene an emergency board meeting within a mere 24 hours. Given my control of 40% of the shares, and the Harrington trusts control of another 15%. Let us simply say they are displaying an exceptionally keen interest in this unfolding situation. A distinct rustle of official papers carried audibly through the phone line. Victor was carefully placing documents onto the head table, each page a quiet, implacable legal instrument. "This is blatant blackmail," Evelyn shrieked, her voice brimming with outrage. "No, Mrs. Carter," Victor replied smoothly, his voice remaining utterly unwavering. "Blackmail is the act of demanding your daughter's property in the full view of 300 witnesses. This," he paused just long enough for the silence to sting sharply, "this is the practical manifestation of accountability. Please," my father's voice broke entirely, pleading now, "make this agonizing situation cease. This has progressed far beyond what is acceptable." "Too far?" I finally spoke, my tone maintaining a deceptive calm and steadiness. "Like striking your own daughter across the face in front of 300 assembled guests. That asterisk kind of too far? You cannot possibly destroy our entire family over this petty incident," my father rasped desperately. "I am not destroying anything," I retorted, my voice firm. "I am simply protecting my valuable assets and my inherent dignity. Victor, in turn, is protecting his substantial investment. If your egregious behavior jeopardizes that investment, then that moral responsibility lies entirely with you." A low murmur rippled through the assembled crowd. Someone whispered indistinctly near the microphone. "It's completely viral on all social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, even the local news channels." Victor's voice rose again, measured, meticulously controlled. "Here is the specific course of action that will transpire. Robert, you have precisely 48 hours to issue a sincere public apology to Natalie, a genuine one, not a mere public relations maneuver. You will formally acknowledge her legitimate professional achievements and her rightful, undisputed ownership of her personal property. Evelyn, you will perform the exact same action, and you will permanently refrain from any further contact with her." "Or what?" Evelyn demanded, her voice trembling violently with barely suppressed fury. "Or," Victor stated, his tone remaining perfectly measured, "I will exercise my full legal rights as the majority shareholder. Your company is critically reliant on my capital for its ongoing expansion projects. Robert, without that vital injection of funds, you will inevitably face corporate bankruptcy within a mere 6-month period. This is my daughter's wedding day." Evelyn's voice fractured into a high-pitched shriek. "You cannot possibly execute this here." "You are precisely correct," Victor replied smoothly. "This is neither the appropriate moment nor the suitable venue. Which is precisely why I am granting you 48 hours to comprehensively rectify the situation. The Penthouse," he continued, emphasizing his point, "remains Natalie's entirely untouched, completely undisputed. Any subsequent attempt to manipulate, accuse, or coerce her again will result in immediate and severe legal action. She is our blood daughter," Robert protested weakly, his voice barely a whisper. "Then treat her with the respect a daughter deserves." Victor snapped, his patience clearly exhausted. "Not like an automated teller machine, not like a mere resource you can exploit whenever it pleases you." Somewhere in the background, Isabella began to sob uncontrollably. This was supposed to be my special, perfect day. "It still is," Victor said calmly, his voice unwavering. "Because after this evening, absolutely everyone here will certainly remember it. I am now departing. But these documents," he paused, letting the words hang in the air, "they will remain with you, Robert. Read them thoroughly, comprehend their full implications, and never forget, Natalie is not isolated. She possesses the full, formidable backing of lean global investments." A heavy, suffocating, utterly final silence permeated the air. Then softly, I heard Isabella's trembling voice. "How could you do this to me?" "I did nothing to you, Isabella," I stated calmly. "I simply declined to relinquish my personal home to you. Everything else, the public announcement, the relentless pressure, the physical assault, those were the direct consequences of our parents' choices." I took a deep breath, steady and deliberate. "The Penthouse is exclusively mine, acquired with my own diligently earned money, a direct result of my tireless work. If you desire one, I strongly suggest you earn yours through your own efforts. You are utterly cruel," Isabella cried, her voice filled with venom. No, I said softly. I simply ceased volunteering to be the family's perpetual sacrifice. There was distinct movement on the phone line, chairs scraping loudly, whispers rapidly spreading, the quiet hum of an entire room struggling desperately to process its own rapid collapse. Then Victor's voice, now closer, steady and completely composed. Natalie, all the necessary official reports have been filed. Your parents fully comprehend their limited options. The ball is now unequivocally in their court. Thank you, Victor, I said quietly. I truly regret that it came to such an extreme outcome. So do I, he replied, a note of weariness in his tone. And incidentally, the wedding photographer diligently captured every single moment. He has already transmitted all the high-resolution files to us, should we require them for any impending legal purposes. A low, guttural groan emanated through the phone, my father's voice, utterly broken. 48 hours, Robert, Victor stated one last time, with an air of absolute finality. A public apology, or I will convene the board. Natalie, I will see you on Monday morning. The line went dead. I stood completely alone within the serene confines of my penthouse. The city outside shimmered majestically beyond the vast glass. For the very first time that entire evening, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. I could truly breathe freely. My cheek still burned with a lingering pain, but something much deeper had finally eased. A colossal weight of attention and expectation I hadn't even fully realized I'd been carrying for 32 long years. Within a mere 2 hours, my phone was deluged with an avalanche of messages. The video had surged far beyond mere viral status. It was absolutely everywhere. Headlines blared. Affluent parents demand daughter's $3 million penthouse at wedding. It was relentlessly trending across 3 major social media platforms. Isabella had attempted to call 15 times. I consciously ignored every single one. My phone vibrated again. A chilling message from my mother: you have absolutely destroyed everything. Your sister's wedding is in utter ruins. Guests are hastily departing. Are you truly happy now? My father's message was noticeably more concise. We urgently need to discuss this, please. But the most astonishing text messages originated from sources I had least expected. 3 of my father's most influential clients had, in fact, viewed the incendiary video. Robert, I am profoundly disturbed by the content I just witnessed. We must immediately discuss the terms of our ongoing contract. Jim Patterson, Patterson Industries. This specific behavior is deeply troubling. My wife firmly insists we reconsider the terms of our partnership. David Kim, Kim Electronics. I refuse to conduct business with any individual who physically assaults their own daughters. The deal is unequivocally off. Sarah Williams, Williams Logistics. That final communication represented a $3 million annual contract. Vanished. Then came the group chat I had almost entirely forgotten about, Ethan's family group, the one I had been reluctantly added to 2 months prior. His mother's message: we are leaving immediately. This is utterly humiliating. His father's message: the wedding celebration is postponed indefinitely. Until we gain a clearer understanding of the exact nature of the family we are contemplating marrying into. The wedding had completely disintegrated, and I wasn't even physically present to witness its collapse. A final ping, a private text from Victor: your father just reached out. He is panicking uncontrollably about the client fallout. 3 additional clients have contacted me directly, all expressing serious concern. I stared intently at the city lights twinkling outside my panoramic window, feeling nothing but a profound, quiet clarity. Sometimes, cosmic justice doesn't bellow. It simply broadcasts. Then arrived the most supremely satisfying message of all, from the anonymous individual who had meticulously filmed everything. Your mother actually fainted in shock when she realized the CEO of Lean Global Investments was your direct boss. Like, genuinely lost consciousness. They had to summon an emergency ambulance. I poured myself a generous glass of the fine wine I had been deliberately saving for a truly special milestone. If standing up decisively for myself was not deemed special, then what, I pondered, truly was? Another buzz. A text from my assistant: boss, you are absolutely trending. Also, 5 prominent executive recruiters have already reached out, inquiring if you are open to exploring new opportunities. Apparently, confronting toxic family dynamics is the new ultimate leadership flex. I laughed aloud, a genuine, unrestrained laugh, the very first one I had allowed myself all day. By Monday morning, the entire corporate world had definitively chosen its allegiances, and the outcome was not even remotely close. The video had permeated every significant business network across the city. The narrative was strikingly clear. The highly accomplished daughter who steadfastly refused to be bullied by her powerful, manipulative parents. The astute CEO who strategically intervened to shield his most valuable executive from flagrant familial exploitation. My father's company had incurred the loss of 6 crucial contracts in total. The ambitious expansion blueprint he had boasted about for 2 long years was now utterly defunct. Without Victor's essential capital injection, and with clients fleeing in rapidly increasing numbers, downsizing was no longer a discretionary option. It was an unavoidable, stark reality. Isabella's dream honeymoon in Bali was unceremoniously canceled, not by her own choice, but by Ethan's family. They insisted on a thorough reevaluation of the core relationship dynamics before proceeding any further. I blinked in astonishment. Because I was assaulted at a wedding celebration, he offered a faint, knowing smile. Because you steadfastly held your ground under immense social duress, you diligently protected valuable company assets. You maintained your unwavering composure in an exceptionally extreme situation. That, Natalie, embodies true, exemplary leadership. And the fact that I ultimately had to intercede merely demonstrated your profound astuteness in judiciously leveraging available resources. Natalie, I have witnessed countless seasoned executives crumble under relentless family pressure. You, remarkably, did not. You unequivocally triumphed. The promotion came with a significant 40% salary increase and a very generous stock option package, more than sufficient to acquire another penthouse should I ever desire one. But I felt no need for another. The one I possessed was absolutely perfect. It stood as a powerful, undeniable symbol of everything I had meticulously constructed without my family's inherited wealth, their supposed influence, or their conditional approval. I chose to donate my entire raise and bonus to a local women's shelter that provided invaluable assistance to survivors escaping toxic and abusive domestic environments. It felt like the unequivocally correct action to take. My father's public apology materialized precisely 47 hours after Victor's stringent ultimatum had expired. It was stiff, clearly formulated by his legal counsel, but it ultimately achieved its intended purpose. I wish to extend my deepest apologies to my daughter, Natalie Carter, for my inappropriate conduct during a recent family gathering. I formally acknowledge her professional accomplishments and her rightful, undisputed ownership of her personal assets. This particular matter is now considered definitively resolved. My mother, predictably, staunchly refused to issue any apology. Instead, she resorted to social media, publicly labeling me ungrateful, selfish, and irrevocably corrupted by corporate culture. Her inflammatory post was immediately screenshotted and shared thousands of times, typically accompanied by comments such as, "Well, now we have a clear understanding of where the problem truly originated." It did not take long for public opinion to brand her precisely what she was, a profound narcissist. A week later, Isabella texted me directly, "You have completely ruined my entire life. Ethan's family is forcing us to attend intensive counseling sessions before they will even consider approving our marriage. They genuinely believe my family is toxic." "They are not mistaken," I replied matter-of-factly. "I utterly detest you. I am aware." The extended family sharply divided down the middle. Some individuals sided with my parents, fervently preaching that family ties should always take precedence above all else. Others reached out to me privately, sharing their own deeply personal stories of being the familial scapegoat, the ever-present ATM, the one who was perpetually deemed insufficient. Even my cousin Derek texted, "I am truly sorry for the hurtful things I said earlier. I had no true comprehension of the immense difficulties you were confronting." For the very first time, I felt absolutely no internal compulsion to offer explanations or justifications for my actions. A heartfelt message arrived from Aunt Patricia, my mother's elder sister. Your mother was unequivocally wrong. I am incredibly proud of you for resolutely standing your ground. But the most genuinely surprising text message originated from Ethan himself. I had absolutely no prior knowledge of the Penthouse ambush plan. If I had been informed, I would have certainly intervened and stopped it. Isabella truly needs to mature significantly. Perhaps this entire incident serves as the crucial wake-up call she desperately needed. I am truly sorry your mother physically struck you. That was an unprovoked assault, plain and simple. At least one individual within that tangled family possessed a semblance of fundamental decency and understanding. The very next day, I had all the locks on my penthouse completely rekeyed. Security personnel received an updated list of names permanently banned from entering the building. My parents' names occupied the very top of that list. James, the loyal doorman who had known me for 3 faithful years, discreetly pulled me aside as I returned home. "Miss Carter," he said quietly, his voice filled with genuine empathy. "I saw the widely circulated video. Congratulations. My own daughter endured a somewhat similar ordeal. Family isn't always what it appears to be, you know." He offered a warm smile. And for the first time in what felt like an eternity, so did I that night. I systematically blocked my entire immediate family on every single social media platform. No dramatic public announcement. No lengthy, emotional explanation, just profound silence and the quiet, liberating freedom that invariably accompanies cutting off access to one's hard-won peace. Work became my absolute primary focus. The new promotion entailed successfully managing diverse teams across 12 different countries. I immersed myself completely in it, diligently building something profoundly meaningful without the crushing, suffocating weight of inherited familial expectations. And Victor, he evolved into far more than just a dedicated boss. He became the steadfast mentor my own father never was. Over a casual coffee one morning, he sagely remarked, "The most profound revenge is a life exceptionally well lived without their detrimental presence." 3 months later, a text message arrived from an unidentified number. A photograph depicting Isabella's belated wedding gift, the one I had dispatched once the initial dust had finally settled. A professionally printed certificate for 6 months of intensive family therapy sessions. Insulting, the accompanying message read. "Necessary," I replied succinctly. Then I promptly blocked the number. My penthouse definitively became what it was always inherently destined to be. An inviolable sanctuary that no one could ever demand, diminish, or devalue. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the vibrant cityscape served as a daily, powerful reminder that I had meticulously constructed something they could never seize from me. Not for any lack of trying on their part. 6 months elapsed, and the initial intense commotion had gradually faded into distant memory. A new, healthier reality had firmly taken root in my life. I was unequivocally thriving. The senior vice president role led to a coveted feature in Forbes' prestigious 40 under 40 list. The accompanying article made absolutely no mention of the wedding incident whatsoever. It exclusively focused on my innovative strategy for expanding into the lucrative Asia-Pacific region, on my proven ability to build new markets from the very ground up, on my capacity for leading with unapologetic conviction and strength. And that, fundamentally, was the core point. Not the physical assault, not the public spectacle, but the work, the life, which was now indisputably entirely mine. His company eventually achieved a degree of stabilization, but it never fully regained its former prestigious standing. He appeared to have aged a full decade within a mere 6-month period. I heard through indirect channels that he had finally commenced therapy. Too little, too late, perhaps, but at least it represented a form of progress. My mother continued to tirelessly reenact her victim narrative to anyone willing to lend an ear, lamenting about the ungrateful daughter who selfishly prioritized financial gain over sacred family bonds. Most people, however, having seen the viral video, were far more discerning. They knew better. As for Isabella, her marriage to Ethan endured for precisely 4 months. The mandatory counseling sessions had regrettably exposed deeper, unresolved issues. An ingrained sense of entitlement, a pervasive lack of personal accountability, and the deeply rooted expectation that others would perpetually provide for her every need. Ethan's family had been entirely justified in their initial grave concerns. The subsequent divorce was quiet, but absolutely final. She texted me once afterward, "I sincerely hope you are happy now that you have achieved everything you desired." "No," I replied simply. "I achieved what I demonstrably earned. That, Isabella, is the crucial difference." The professional family I discovered at Lean Global Investments became my true, unwavering family. The kind of bond that celebrated collective victories together, stood united through all manner of storms, and never once requested me to sacrifice my hard-won success for their comfort or convenience. Victor and his wife graciously extended an invitation for me to join their intimate family dinner. He had 2 bright daughters, both currently enrolled in college, and both candidly told me they profoundly looked up to me as an inspiring role model. "You are living proof that we never have to diminish our true selves for anyone," one of them declared with conviction. And she was absolutely right. That profound validation meant infinitely more to me than any conditional approval my biological relatives could ever possibly bestow. So, here is the invaluable lesson I learned from that catastrophic wedding night disaster. Genetic ties do not, by themselves, constitute a true family. Mutual respect does. Success is not an obligation you owe to individuals who never actively supported your personal journey. And sometimes, the most profoundly powerful statement you can ever make to a toxic family is utter, dignified silence. My penthouse remains securely mine. Every single morning, I watch the magnificent sunrise through those expansive floor-to-ceiling windows, a cup of coffee held firmly in my hand, filled with profound gratitude for the deep peace I fiercely fought to protect. It is not merely a valuable property. It is unequivocal, living proof that I chose myself when absolutely everyone else expected me to choose them. If you are presently struggling with a family unit that perpetually demands far more than it ever willingly gives, individuals who brazenly claim your hard-won victories as their own, or expect you to self-immolate to keep them comfortably warm, please remember this vital truth. Your personal boundaries are sacrosanct. Your achievements are solely and exclusively yours, and your inner peace far outweighs their fleeting, conditional approval. You are never, ever obligated to surrender the fruits of your painstakingly earned growth simply because you share genetic material. You never have to passively accept blatant disrespect in the name of preserving superficial family harmony. And you certainly never have to endure abuse, whether it be emotional or physical, to be considered a good daughter in their eyes. Because the unvarnished truth is, a good daughter does not willingly destroy herself to ensure others' comfort. She learns to stand tall, claim her space, and live genuinely free. Just like that painful slap, or the decades of being treated as inherently less valuable, true freedom came at a significant personal cost. I severed ties with my biological family, but what I gained in return was immeasurably more precious. Unwavering self-respect, genuine, authentic connections, and a life meticulously constructed entirely on my own terms. Your personal story might manifest differently, yet the fundamental principle remains universally consistent. You absolutely deserve to be celebrated, not merely tolerated. Choose the individuals